I was on a night shift. When my wife, my brother, and my son were brought in, all unconscious, I ran to see them, but a doctor quietly stopped me. "You can't see them yet," he said. Trembling, I asked, "Why?" The doctor lowered his eyes and whispered, "The police will explain everything once they arrive." Chapter 1. A Shattered Midnight. The hospital lights always buzzed louder at 2 a.m. Maybe it was the silence of the corridors. Maybe it was the weight of fatigue pressing against my spine after 8 hours on the trauma floor. Or maybe it was the fact that night shifts always brought the worst kinds of pain. But nothing. Nothing prepared me for what came over the intercom. "Dr. Adam Carter, please report to Emergency Bay 3 immediately. Code red, multiple victims. Incoming ambulance ETA 2 minutes." I was halfway through updating a patient's chart when I heard it. I dropped the pen and sprinted down the corridor, white coat billowing behind me. When I reached the trauma bay, nurses were already scrambling. EMTs burst in through the sliding doors with 3 gurneys, 3 bodies, each motionless, each terrifyingly familiar. I froze mid-stride. No, this isn't happening. The first gurney, my wife, Emma, her blonde hair matted with blood. The second, my younger brother, Caleb, face bruised, a deep gash on his temple. And the third, my son, Ben. My knees almost buckled. "Ben!" I shouted, rushing forward. But before I could reach them, a hand caught my shoulder. Firm, gentle, intentional. It was Dr. Reyes, the attending on call. "You can't go in there," he said, his voice low. I stared at him, wild-eyed, breath coming in gasps. "That's my family," I said hoarsely. "My wife, my brother, my son. Let me through." Dr. Reyes didn't move. He looked around, once, twice, then leaned in and whispered, "You can't see them yet. The police will explain everything once they arrive." My world slowed, froze. A siren still howled outside. Nurses moved in controlled chaos. But for me, everything went quiet. "What do you mean?" I whispered. "Why would the police—" His eyes didn't meet mine. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just an accident. Something was deeply wrong. Chapter 2. Bloodlines and Lies. The police arrived 20 minutes later. 2 officers, plainclothes, stone-faced. While my colleagues worked frantically to stabilize Emma, Caleb, and Ben, I stood frozen near the nurses' station, arms crossed tightly, knuckles white, mind spiraling. I hadn't been allowed in the trauma room, not even a glimpse, not even a word about my son's condition. "Ben's strong," I whispered to myself. "He's only 16. He'll make it." But my gut was screaming louder than my thoughts. And the way Dr. Reyes had looked at me, that downward glance, the tight mouth, the deliberate hesitation, felt less like medical concern and more like guilt. Finally, Officer Daniels approached me, his notepad already out, his eyes unreadable. "Dr. Carter," he said formally, "we'd like to speak with you privately." "In there," I gestured, leading them into the break room. I closed the door behind us. "What happened?" I demanded. He exchanged a glance with his partner, then slowly began. "Earlier tonight, around 1:15 a.m., your wife's vehicle, registered under Emma Carter, was found crashed into a guardrail on County Route 7. My breath caught. "That's 20 miles from our home." He nodded. "Yes. The airbags deployed. All 3 passengers were found unconscious inside. Your son was in the back seat." I leaned forward. "Who was driving?" Again, that glance between officers. Daniels hesitated. "We're still determining that. There was evidence suggesting your brother may have been behind the wheel." "What kind of evidence?" "He had no seatbelt marks. Front airbags deployed on the passenger side only. Also," he paused, "there were open bottles of wine in the vehicle, several glasses, and a hotel keycard wedged between the front seats." I didn't understand. "They were drinking?" "Yes." I blinked. "No, Caleb didn't drink. He hadn't since his DUI 5 years ago. And Emma? She barely touched alcohol. And what would Ben be doing in the car at that hour, especially with them? My voice cracked. Why would my wife be in a car with my brother and our son, alone, at night, on a country road? With wine? Daniels didn't answer. Instead, he pulled something from his jacket. A small clear bag. Inside was a cell phone. Emma's. It wasn't locked when we recovered it, he said. I'm going to show you something, Dr. Carter, but I need you to brace yourself. He opened the phone and tapped the photo gallery. My heart pounded. He held up the screen. It was a selfie. Emma, in a hotel mirror, wearing nothing but a robe. Caleb's arms around her waist, kissing her neck. The timestamp read 12:48 a.m. tonight, 27 minutes before the crash. I staggered back a step. The wall caught me. No, I whispered. No, they wouldn't. The officer's voice was low. I'm sorry. My legs nearly gave out. This wasn't an affair with a coworker. This wasn't a secret online fling. This was my wife and my brother. And they had brought my son into the car. Maybe he'd found out. Maybe he'd caught them. Maybe... The officer placed a steady hand on my shoulder. There's more, he said softly. But I wasn't listening. The photo burned behind my eyes, and all I could think was, how long had I been sleeping beside a woman who would do something like this? Chapter 3. What My Son Remembered. The ICU hallway was silent. Ben had been stabilized and moved to a private room while Emma and Caleb remained in critical condition under sedation. I hadn't seen either of them, not that I wanted to. Every second they were unconscious felt like a strange mercy. If I had to look either of them in the eye, I wasn't sure what I'd say or do. But Ben, my son, was awake. A nurse found me pacing just outside the trauma wing. Dr. Carter, he's conscious. He's asking for you. My heart leapt and sank at the same time. I pushed the door open quietly and stepped inside. There he was, pale, lips cracked, a bandage above his left brow. But his eyes, those were still my boy's eyes. Alert, intelligent, burning with something he didn't know how to say. Dad, he rasped. I rushed to his side and grabbed his hand. I'm here, Ben. I'm here, son. You're okay now. He looked around the room like he was still trying to convince himself this wasn't a nightmare. What happened? Why am I here? I didn't want to overwhelm him, but I had to know. You were in a car accident, I said carefully, with your mother and Caleb. His eyes narrowed. I remember... His voice trailed off, lips twitching as fragments came back. We were driving. I was yelling. What were you yelling about? I asked, gently but firmly. He blinked and then... They were kissing, in the front seat. I saw it. My stomach clenched. He continued, his voice shaking now. We were supposed to be heading home. Mom told me we were just picking up something from Uncle Caleb's place. But then they stopped at a motel. She left me in the back seat for almost an hour. I thought maybe she was talking to him or something. But then... He looked away, ashamed. I got out. I went to look through the window. They were... in bed. I closed my eyes. Fury, disgust, grief, all of it boiled in my chest. I confronted them, Ben continued. I yelled, screamed, told her she was disgusting. She laughed, said I didn't understand adult love. Caleb tried to calm me down, but I told him to shut up. I told him he wasn't my uncle anymore. Then, Ben's jaw trembled. She said we needed to talk it out as a family. She made me get back in the car, said she was sorry I found out that way. Then they started drinking. I was in the back, crying, and they were drinking and talking like I wasn't even there. He swallowed hard. I begged her to stop driving. She wouldn't listen. Caleb said he'd drive, but she laughed and said, we're all a mess tonight, might as well lean into it. The last thing I remember is the headlights, something coming fast, then nothing. I sat there in stunned silence. Not only had they betrayed me, But they dragged my son into their twisted, drunken fantasy. They had endangered his life, crushed his innocence, and then tried to play it off as if it were some family matter to be resolved over a bottle of wine. No, not this time. This wasn't just infidelity. This was abuse. This was reckless endangerment. This was going to end in courtrooms, ruined reputations, and jail time. I stood slowly, brushing Ben's hair from his forehead. "You're safe now," I told him. Then I walked out of the room, fire in my chest, purpose in my steps. I had the truth, I had evidence, and I had nothing left to lose. Chapter 4. The reckoning begins. By the next morning, I wasn't just a grieving husband and betrayed brother. I was a man on a mission. I had Ben's testimony. I had Emma's phone with damning photos and chat logs that made it clear this wasn't some drunken one-time lapse. It had been going on for months. And I had hospital records showing Emma and Caleb's blood alcohol levels. Both legally intoxicated. That, paired with the crash, it wasn't just betrayal, it was a felony. I sat down in my office, closed the blinds, and made a call. "Jason, it's Adam. I need a favor. A big one." Jason was a family lawyer I'd known for years. Sharp, discreet, and cold when needed. After I explained everything, he was quiet for a beat. "You want divorce proceedings?" he asked. "Yes, immediate, emergency filing." "And the criminal charges?" I hesitated, then clenched my fist. "I want everything. They put my son's life at risk. I want this to go public, legal, loud." There was a pause, then we start today. By noon, we had filed for divorce with a temporary restraining order to keep Emma from contacting Ben or me. By evening, I had handed over all digital evidence to Officer Daniels, who confirmed the DA would likely pursue charges of child endangerment and DUI with a minor present. And the final blow? I sent an anonymous tip with photo attachments to the hospital's ethics committee, where Emma still technically worked as a senior counselor. In her role, she counseled vulnerable patients, including teens. The hypocrisy made my stomach turn. That night, I returned to the hospital and stood outside Caleb's room. He was still unconscious, a tangle of IV lines and machines breathing for him. I stared at him for a long time through the glass. This was the brother who used to protect me from bullies, the brother who cried at my wedding speech, and he threw it all away for some selfish fantasy with my wife. You think you'll always see betrayal coming. You think it'll be flashy, obvious, dramatic. But sometimes it's your own blood kissing your wife behind your back. Later that night, I received a call from Emma's friend, Lindsay. "Adam, she's awake. She's freaking out. She tried to call you. She's blocked. She said she made a mistake, that she didn't mean for it to go that far." I nearly laughed. "She drove drunk with my son in the back seat, Lindsay. That is as far as it gets. She's saying you're overreacting." I was silent for a moment. Then, "Tell her this," I said. "Tell her I'm not mad anymore. I'm focused." And I hung up. Because this wasn't about anger now. This was about accountability. And by the time I was done, Emma and Caleb wouldn't just be exposed. They'd be finished. Chapter 5. The collapse of their kingdom. By the following week, it was no longer just a family scandal. It was news. Someone from the hospital ethics board had leaked the report. Maybe a nurse, maybe an administrator. It didn't matter. What mattered was that the headlines spread like wildfire across local media outlets. Renowned family counselor suspended amid allegations of DUI with minor, inappropriate relationship with husband's brother. Photos from Emma's phone. Quotes from the anonymous source. Mentions of the ongoing police investigation. The public devoured every word. I sat in my living room, the TV muted, watching Emma's face flash across the screen. A year-old professional headshot beside the words, "Hypocrisy at its highest." The comments online were brutal. How can someone who counsels teens drive drunk with a child in the car? If this was a man, he'd already be in jail. She's lucky the kid survived. Hope the husband sues her into the ground. And in a private Reddit thread someone created, Hundreds were discussing the betrayal of both a spouse and sibling. The internet didn't just expose her, it tore her to pieces. Meanwhile, Caleb's company, an up-and-coming tech startup where I had once helped him network, held a press conference. The founder, a mutual friend, spoke clearly. "We take these allegations seriously. Mr. Caleb Carter has been placed on indefinite leave pending the investigation." They had no choice. Shareholders were already calling it a PR nightmare, and then came the day of the first court hearing. Divorce, custody rights, restraining order renewals, and an emergency hearing for temporary guardianship, all in one sitting. Emma stood in the courtroom pale, her face gaunt without makeup, eyes darting as if looking for someone, anyone, to protect her. Caleb was still hospitalized, so he wasn't there. But Emma? She had no one left. Even her lawyer looked tired of her. Mine, on the other hand, was a predator in a tailored suit. When the judge asked if I had anything to submit into evidence, I handed over the following: a hard drive containing photos and videos from Emma's phone, a printed transcript of messages between her and Caleb, some of them discussing how to keep Ben quiet. Ben's written and signed testimony, approved by the court psychologist, describing the night of the accident, a list of witnesses, a motel staff member, a nurse who overheard Emma say, "I thought he was asleep in the back," and a colleague of Emma's who she had confided in about her secret love with Caleb. The judge flipped through the files in silence. Emma didn't cry. She cracked. Her hands shook. Her shoulders curled inward like she was trying to disappear. And when the judge looked up and said, "Temporary sole custody awarded to the father. Full restraining order against Mrs. Carter is extended. Emergency child endangerment review will proceed to criminal court." Emma finally whispered, "I lost everything, didn't I?" I didn't even look at her. I just picked up my coat, placed a comforting hand on Ben's shoulder and said, "No, you threw it away." Chapter 6. The Last Goodbye. It had been 3 months since the court hearing. Caleb had quietly sold his shares in the company and moved out of state, humiliated and discarded by both the tech world and our extended family. No one wanted to be associated with him, not after the tabloids, not after the leaked texts, and especially not after the charges. Emma's license as a counselor was officially revoked after the ethics board concluded their review. The public uproar paired with her conduct made reinstatement impossible. Her name was permanently removed from the registry. She had lost her career, her credibility, her custody, and whatever fantasy she had imagined with Caleb. I was at home with Ben one quiet Saturday afternoon. He was back to sketching in his notebook, humming to himself. The light in him had slowly returned. That's when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello?" There was silence. Then, "Adam?" It was Emma. Her voice was hoarse, low, like she hadn't slept properly in weeks. I didn't expect you to answer." I said nothing. "I know you probably hate me," she continued, voice trembling, "but I wanted to explain." I let the silence drag, then said coldly, "Go on." She inhaled deeply. "Caleb and it wasn't about you. It was about me. I felt trapped, bored, like life had become so routine and I was just drowning. He listened. He made me feel wanted. While I worked nights to provide for this family," I said sharply. "I know," she whispered. "I know I destroyed everything. But maybe if you had been more emotionally present." I cut her off. "Don't you dare shift the blame. You didn't just betray me. You endangered our son's life. You were drunk, in a car, with a minor in the back seat, making out with my brother." Her voice cracked. "I lost everything, Adam. I thought maybe one day we could talk. Maybe you could forgive me." I closed my eyes for a moment. Then I said, calm and clear, "Forgiveness isn't mine to give. It belongs to the people you hurt, and I'm not here to help you feel better about what you did. I'm here to protect my son and bury every illusion you ever had about being the victim." She started to sob. I didn't flinch. "Goodbye, Emma." And I hung up. That night, Ben and I sat outside on the porch. He looked up at the stars and said, "Do you think people can change?" I thought about it, then replied, "Yes, but some only do after they've lost everything they thought they couldn't." He nodded slowly, satisfied. And me? I had no rage left, no desire for vengeance, only peace, because the people who once burned my world down were now standing in the ash of their own choices, while I walked forward, hand in hand with my son, toward a future finally free of lies. Was this revenge perfectly justified? Tell us what you would have done in the comments below. Like the story, share it with someone who needs this energy, and subscribe to Lauren's story for more jaw-dropping tales of betrayal and justice. Because here, every lie has its reckoning, and every betrayal finds its shadow. Stay sharp, stay strong, and stay tuned.
After listening to today's story, perhaps it has raised some new questions in your mind, or maybe it has brought back some old memories. Every day on Reddit, new experiences and moments create fresh stories, and they connect all of us. Everyone has their own unique journey in life, and we all try to understand the world in our own way. These kinds of moments remind us that we are all human, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, and always learning something new. If you enjoyed this story, feel free to share it with your friends. Your thoughts and feedback are always valuable to us, as they motivate us to create even better content. Every story has its own unique angle, and our goal is to understand everyone's perspective and make our content diverse and relatable. Stories like these help us realize that life's journey is different for everyone, and by hearing other stories, we learn something new. You can also share your own stories with us. Your experiences are valuable to us as well, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave your feedback. We aim to create content that brightens your mind and gives you new ideas every time. If you've already seen this video before, your feedback is still important. With every piece of feedback, we can improve our content and bring a new perspective to our viewers. Today, what we saw was just a small part of the many stories shared on Reddit and across the world. It's a reminder of how we all try to understand life by sharing our experiences with each other. This video was only an example of how we try to connect with others through storytelling, learning about different sides of life. We hope to continue sharing such stories that help us all learn and grow together. Thank you for your time, and don't forget to keep an eye out for more stories coming soon. If you haven't already, please like and follow for more amazing content. Your support keeps us going, and we will strive to bring you more thought-provoking and heartwarming stories. Until next time, take care and stay curious. *.